In a quiet town surrounded by green hills and winding roads, there was a garage that people often passed with curiosity. Inside the garage sat a car unlike any other. It was a 1950 Rolls-Royce, old and beautiful, with shining silver paint and polished chrome that reflected sunlight. But despite its beauty, the car had not moved in many years. Its engine had stopped and no mechanic in the area could make it run again. The car had become a mystery, something that everyone admired but no one could fix. The owner of the Rolls-Royce was Mr. Harris, a kind and patient man who loved his car more than anything else. He had tried everything to restore it. He had called the best mechanics from nearby towns and even from the city. They studied the engine, replaced parts, polished the wheels, and cleaned every corner. But nothing worked. Every attempt failed and the car stayed silent. Over time, people in the town began to whisper that the car was impossible to fix. Some even joked that it was cursed, though Mr. Harris did not believe in such things. Mr. Harris had a daughter named Mia. She was 18 years old, bright and curious, and she loved everything about machines. While she was still learning, she spent most of her free time in her father's garage watching him work. She had grown up surrounded by tools, engines, and car parts. Mia had a special interest in the Rolls-Royce. She had seen it in the garage since she was a little girl, and always wondered why it could not run. One warm afternoon, Mia entered the garage while the sunlight poured through the windows. She carefully stepped over the scattered tools and walked toward the Rolls-Royce. Its silver body gleamed, but the engine looked old and tired. Mia ran her fingers gently over the hood, imagining how it must have felt when it raced down the roads decades ago. She had seen the experts try and fail many times, and she wondered if they had missed something important. Mia decided to watch her father work closely that day. She followed him as he checked the engine, listened to the sounds, and tested some wires. She noticed small things the experts often ignored. A wire was slightly loose, a lever was in a strange position, and some screws were tightened too tightly. Mia asked her father questions, but he only smiled. "It is complicated, Mia. This car has a lot of history. Experts have tried, and even they could not fix it," he said. Mia nodded but did not feel discouraged. She had a quiet determination inside her. She believed that if she paid attention and took her time, she might understand what was wrong. She touched the engine lightly, feeling the cold metal under her fingers. She imagined how the engine worked long ago, how each part moved together like a well-practiced dance. She could almost hear the car's heartbeat if she listened carefully. Hours passed and Mia remained focused. She observed every small detail, checking the wires, the pipes, and the levers. She even cleaned the engine carefully, removing dust and rust that had settled over many years. The other mechanics were busy elsewhere, some shaking their heads, some laughing quietly, thinking that an 18-year-old girl could not possibly solve the mystery of the Rolls-Royce. But Mia did not pay attention to them. She knew that sometimes solving a problem required patience, care, and curiosity, more than strength or experience. As the sun started to set, the garage glowed with a warm orange light. Mia continued her work, carefully turning screws and adjusting levers. She remembered small tips her father had taught her over the years about older engines. She checked each part slowly, making sure nothing was out of place. She realized that the car was not broken in a simple way. It had a delicate system that needed precise adjustments. Most experts had focused on replacing parts, but Mia understood that the problem required gentle attention, not force. Her father watched quietly from a distance, feeling a mixture of pride and surprise. Mia was patient and focused in a way he had never seen before. She worked calmly without frustration or hurry, carefully listening to the car's needs. Something inside him told him that perhaps Mia could do what no one else had managed. He decided to step back and let her try small adjustments, trusting her instincts. Mia smiled to herself, feeling a mix of excitement and calm determination. She did not know yet if she could fix the Rolls-Royce, but she knew she had discovered something important. The car had a story to tell, and she wanted to understand it fully. That evening, as the garage grew quiet and the town outside prepared for the night, Mia continued to study the Rolls-Royce, determined to uncover the secret that had kept it silent for decades. The next morning, Mia returned to the garage early. The sun was just rising, casting soft golden light through the dusty windows. She could hear birds singing outside, but inside the garage it was quiet and still, except for the gentle ticking of the old Rolls-Royce cooling down from the previous day. Mia felt a sense of excitement and curiosity. She knew the car had a secret, and she was determined to find it. She carefully examined the Rolls-Royce from top to bottom. Its shiny hood and elegant curves still held the beauty of its time. Mia opened the engine panel and leaned close. She noticed small scratches and marks that she had not seen before. She remembered how her father often said that every machine left clues if you looked carefully. Mia's eyes scanned every wire, lever, and pipe. She noticed how some parts were slightly worn and others had been replaced by the previous mechanics. She realized that understanding the car meant paying attention to every little detail. Mia decided to start with the engine. She gently touched each component, testing its movement. Some levers were stiff, others loose. She adjusted a few carefully and noted their positions. She remembered the small guide her father had once given her about classic cars, explaining how older engines sometimes had hidden mechanisms that could be easily overlooked. Mia thought the answer might be in one of these hidden parts. Her father, Mr. Harris, arrived at the garage carrying a cup of tea. He watched his daughter quietly as she worked. He had always known Mia had curiosity, but he was amazed by her patience and focus. "Are you sure you want to try this, Mia?" he asked gently. "It has taken experts years and they could not fix it." Mia smiled confidently. "I just want to understand it better, Father. I want to see if it can start again," she said. She did not want to discourage him, but she also knew that this was something she had to try herself. Her eyes returned to the engine as she studied the small details. She could see how everything was connected, how one part affected another. It was like solving a puzzle, and she loved puzzles. Hours passed. Mia worked carefully, sometimes standing back to observe the entire engine, sometimes leaning in closely to inspect small parts. She wiped off dust and grease with a clean cloth, making sure every connection was clear. She tested wires gently, turned screws lightly, and adjusted tiny levers that had been forgotten. Each movement was slow and deliberate. She was not rushing. She was listening to the car. The mechanics who had been helping Mr. Harris occasionally walked past the garage, glancing inside. They saw Mia working and whispered to each other. Some shook their heads, thinking she was too young to understand such a complicated car. Others were curious but hesitant to speak. None of them could imagine that an 18-year-old girl could be discovering what they had missed for years. Mia ignored the whispers. She focused on the car with calm determination. She noticed a small lever behind the engine panel that seemed unusual. It was different from the other levers she had seen. She remembered a tip her father had given her. Older cars sometimes had small adjustments that were easy to overlook. Mia examined the lever carefully, feeling it with her fingers and moving it slowly. She paused for a moment and took a deep breath. She felt a connection to the car, as if it were waiting for someone to understand it. She had spent hours learning its shape, its sound, and its structure. Her patience was paying off. She knew that if she made the right adjustment, she might be able to wake it up after decades of silence. Mia turned her attention to the ignition key. She looked at the Rolls-Royce and smiled softly. She had not yet tried to start it, but she felt that the right moment was approaching. She gently placed her hands on the key, her fingers steady and calm. The engine was quiet, waiting, as if it knew someone had finally noticed its hidden secret. Mr. Harris watched silently from a corner of the garage. He felt a mixture of pride and amazement. He had spent years trying to restore the Rolls-Royce, and now his daughter was working with a careful patience that he had never seen in anyone else. He realized that Mia had something special. She could see what others could not, and she had the courage to try even when failure seemed likely. As the sun climbed higher, the garage filled with warm light. Dust particles floated in the air, and the Rolls-Royce sat gleaming in the center. Mia adjusted a few more small parts and leaned back to observe. She smiled quietly to herself. She had spent so much time learning and understanding the car, and now she felt closer than ever to discovering its secret. Mia's heart was calm, but excited. She knew that the next steps would be crucial. She had learned patience, observation, and care. She had noticed what others had missed. The Rolls-Royce was still quiet, but it was no longer unreachable. Something inside her told her that very soon, she might succeed where everyone else had failed. She looked at the car with confidence, ready to continue her work, determined to uncover the... Mia spent the next few days in the garage, fully focused on the Rolls-Royce. She arrived early each morning and often stayed until the sun went down. Each day she learned something new about the car. She noticed small movements in the levers, subtle differences in the pipes, and tiny scratches that told her how the car had been used. She studied every part carefully, taking her time to understand its rhythm and structure. Her father, Mr. Harris, watched from a distance, impressed by her patience and focus. He often thought about how he had never noticed these small details himself. He had tried to fix the car many times with the best mechanics, but they all missed the delicate balance of the engine. Mia, with her quiet determination, seemed to understand the Rolls-Royce in a way no one else did. One afternoon, Mia noticed something unusual near the back of the engine. A small panel was slightly misaligned, hidden behind other parts. She had never seen it before, and it did not seem like the mechanics had touched it in all the years they worked on the car. Carefully, she removed the panel and discovered a series of tiny levers and switches. They were old, worn, and delicate. Mia studied them closely, moving each one gently to see how it affected the engine. The other mechanics had begun to notice Mia's dedication. They occasionally peeked inside the garage, curious about what she was doing. Some whispered to each other, "Why is she still working on that car? It will never start." Another said, "She is too young to understand something this complicated." But Mia did not hear them. She focused only on the Rolls-Royce. She believed that listening carefully and paying attention to small details could solve even the hardest problem. Mia decided to take notes. She wrote down the positions of each lever, the condition of the wires, and the movements she observed. She compared them with the guide her father had given her about classic cars. Slowly, she began to form a plan. She thought about how the engine worked decades ago, how each part connected and what it needed to run. Her mind was calm, focused, and determined. The days passed and Mia's understanding of the car deepened. She realized that the Rolls-Royce was not broken in a simple way. It required precise adjustments, careful observation, and patience. The experts had tried to force it to work by replacing parts, but Mia understood that the solution was more delicate. She needed to listen to the car, not just fix it. One evening, as the sky turned pink and orange, Mia prepared to try something new. She had studied the engine for days and felt ready to test her ideas. She adjusted a small lever, checked the wires, and gently turned the key in the ignition. The engine did not start, but she was not discouraged. She knew that this was only the first step. The Rolls-Royce had a secret, and she was close to finding it. Her father watched silently. He felt a mixture of hope and nervousness. He had seen his daughter work with care and patience, but he had never imagined that she might actually succeed. The mechanics who had doubted her were no longer in the garage. They had left, confident that the car could not be fixed, but Mia continued, determined to prove that careful observation could succeed where force and experience had failed. Mia adjusted another small lever, cleaned a connector, and checked the engine one more time. She leaned back and studied the car as a whole. She thought about how each part moved, how each wire connected, and how the engine had been silent for so long. She imagined it waking up, the sound of the engine filling the garage and the Rolls-Royce moving again after decades. The thought gave her energy and confidence. She tried again. The key turned slowly in her hands. The engine made a soft click and Mia felt a rush of excitement. She adjusted the lever once more and listened carefully. The engine responded slightly, a small vibration that no one else had noticed. Mia's heart raced. She was closer than ever to unlocking the secret of the Rolls-Royce. Mia smiled quietly. She knew that success was not far away. She had spent days observing, learning, and understanding the car. Her patience and care were beginning to pay off. The Rolls-Royce was no longer just a silent machine. It was alive in her understanding. She had discovered a connection that no expert had seen, a delicate balance that would bring the car back to life. As the evening grew darker, Mia prepared for her next attempt. She studied every detail one last time, her hands steady and calm. She knew that the moment to start the car was approaching. The Rolls-Royce had waited for decades, and now someone had finally understood it. Mia's determination and careful work were about to reveal the secret that had kept the car silent for so long. The morning sun filled the garage with soft golden light as Mia prepared for another day with the Rolls-Royce. Her heart beat with excitement, but her mind remained calm and focused. After days of careful observation and small adjustments, she felt closer than ever to discovering the secret that had kept the car silent for decades. She took a deep breath and approached the engine with steady hands. Mia began by checking each lever and wire one more time. She moved slowly, carefully, as if she were listening to the engine with her fingers. She had learned that rushing would only disturb the delicate balance. The other mechanics had tried to fix the car with force, replacing parts and tightening screws too hard. Mia understood that the solution required patience and gentle attention. She adjusted the levers slightly, cleaned the connections, and ensured that every part was aligned perfectly. Her father, Mr. Harris, watched quietly from a distance. He felt a mixture of hope and nervousness. He had spent years trying to fix the Rolls-Royce himself, and he had called the best mechanics in the country. None had succeeded. Yet here was his daughter, an 18-year-old girl, calmly studying the car and making adjustments no one else had noticed. He felt proud and amazed. After a few hours of careful work, Mia noticed something unusual near the side of the engine. A small hidden lever seemed slightly different from the others. She studied it carefully, feeling its weight and movement. It was delicate, almost fragile, and had clearly been untouched by the previous experts. Mia remembered her father's advice. Older cars often had hidden mechanisms that required subtle adjustments. She realized this lever might be the key to unlocking the engine. Mia positioned herself in front of the lever. Her hands moved slowly and gently, testing different positions. She listened closely to the engine, feeling for any vibration or sound. She adjusted the lever slightly, then stepped back to observe the entire engine. For a moment, everything was still. The car seemed to wait, as if it knew that someone had finally noticed its secret. She turned the ignition key carefully. The engine remained silent, but Mia did not lose hope. She had learned that the Rolls-Royce required the perfect combination of adjustments to start. She moved the lever again, this time slightly differently. A soft click sounded from the engine. Mia froze, her heart racing. The car had responded, even if just a little. Mia smiled quietly. She knew she was close. She adjusted another small lever, checked the wires one more time, and then returned to the key. She turned it slowly, listening carefully. This time the engine gave a small vibration, a faint hum that filled the garage. Mia's eyes widened with excitement. The Rolls-Royce, silent for decades, was beginning to awaken. Her father stepped closer, unable to hide his amazement. He watched silently as Mia continued her careful work. The other mechanics had long left, convinced that the car could not be fixed. But Mia had shown that patience, observation, and gentle adjustments could succeed where experience alone had failed. Mia continued to work methodically. She adjusted levers, cleaned connections, and ensured that every part moved freely. The Rolls-Royce responded gradually. The vibrations became stronger and a soft purr filled the garage. Mia's excitement grew, but she remained calm. She knew that rushing could undo all her careful work. Every movement had to be precise. After several more attempts, the engine roared to life. The sound was strong and steady, echoing through the garage. Mia stepped back, her hands trembling slightly with joy. The Rolls-Royce, which had been silent for decades, was now running perfectly. The polished silver body gleamed in the sunlight, reflecting the pride and excitement in Mia's eyes. Mr. Harris could not believe what he was seeing. He stepped closer and placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "You did it, Mia," he said softly, his voice filled with pride. "You brought it back to life." Mia smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. She had studied, observed, and carefully adjusted every part of the car. Her patience and determination had made the impossible possible. Word of Mia's success spread quickly through the town. People came to see the Rolls-Royce running again. They were amazed that an 18-year-old girl had succeeded where so many experts had failed. Mia remained humble, quietly explaining that she had listened to the car and learned its secrets. She gave credit to her father for teaching her the value of patience and careful observation. That evening, the garage was filled with excitement and admiration. The Rolls-Royce sat proudly, its engine humming softly. Mia felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had not only restored the car, but she had also discovered her own talent and determination. She realized that careful observation, patience, and love for her work could overcome challenges that seemed impossible. Mia looked at the Rolls-Royce with a smile. She knew that this was only the beginning. The car. After the Rolls-Royce came to life, the garage became the center of excitement in the town. People began to gather outside, curious to see the famous car running again. Word had spread quickly that an 18-year-old girl, Mia, had succeeded where many experienced mechanics had failed. The townspeople were amazed and filled with admiration. They could not believe that such a young girl had brought the classic car back to life. Mia stood next to the Rolls-Royce, her hands resting gently on the polished hood. She felt proud but calm. She knew that the success was not just about starting the engine. It was about understanding, observing, and giving careful attention to the details that others had missed. She looked at her father, Mr. Harris, who was smiling proudly, and she felt grateful for his guidance and support. The first visitors were neighbors and friends who had known Mia since she was a little girl. They stared in wonder at the car, asking questions about how it had been fixed. Mia explained carefully, showing them the levers and parts she had adjusted. She spoke with patience and clarity, making sure everyone could understand. People listened closely, impressed by her knowledge and skill. Mr. Harris watched quietly. He had spent years trying to restore the Rolls-Royce and had seen many experts fail. Yet his daughter, with her careful observation and determination, had succeeded where others could not. He felt a deep sense of pride and happiness. He realized that Mia had a natural talent, a combination of curiosity, patience, and understanding that could not be taught. Some of the older mechanics in the town were hesitant at first. They had tried to fix the Rolls-Royce themselves and failed. Seeing Mia succeed made them pause and think. Slowly they approached her, curious and respectful. "How did you do it?" one of them asked. Mia smiled and explained, "I studied every part carefully. I observed the car and adjusted the levers slowly. I listened to the engine and learned what it needed." The mechanics were impressed. They realized that experience alone was not always enough. Sometimes fresh eyes and careful attention could solve even the hardest problems. Mia's success taught them a lesson they would not forget. They nodded in admiration and left the garage with a new respect for her skill and determination. As the day passed, more people came to see the Rolls-Royce. Families, children, and even travelers from nearby towns arrived, eager to witness the famous car running again. Mia greeted everyone with a smile, happy to share her knowledge and excitement. She showed them the engine, explaining the delicate adjustments she had made. People listened in amazement, fascinated by her calm and careful work. Mia's success also inspired other young people in the town. Many had never thought they could achieve something difficult at their age. Seeing Mia succeed gave them hope. They realized that determination, patience, and a willingness to learn could overcome even the biggest challenges. Mia became a role model not because she was famous, but because she had shown that effort, care, and observation could create real success. That evening, after the visitors had left, Mia and her father sat together in the garage. The Rolls-Royce was parked carefully, its engine still humming softly. "You have done something amazing, Mia," Mr. Harris said quietly. "I am proud of you. You have brought this car back to life, and you have shown everyone that patience and understanding matter more than strength or experience alone." Mia smiled, feeling a warm sense of accomplishment. She knew that the journey was not over. There were many more cars to learn about, more engines to study, and more problems to solve. But she also knew that the success with the Rolls-Royce had taught her an important lesson, that careful observation, patience, and persistence could achieve what others believed was impossible. The town continued to talk about Mia and the Rolls-Royce for weeks. People visited the garage just to see the car and to meet the young girl who had made history in their small town. Mia welcomed them all, patiently explaining the details and sharing her passion for machines. She remained humble, always giving credit to her father for teaching her how to observe carefully and work with care. Mia's work did not stop with the Rolls-Royce. She continued to study cars, learning new techniques, and helping anyone who needed advice. Her success inspired everyone around her. She had proven that age was never a barrier to talent and that careful work and determination could turn failure into success. The Rolls-Royce, once silent for decades, now stood as a symbol of hope, skill, and persistence. Mia looked at it proudly, knowing that she had accomplished something remarkable. She had not only restored a classic car, but had also discovered her own talent and potential. The town celebrated her achievement, and Mia felt a deep sense of satisfaction, ready to continue her journey and learn even more about the world of machines. After her success with the 1950 Rolls-Royce, Mia's life began to change slowly. People from nearby towns started visiting the garage, bringing their old cars for advice or repairs. They had heard of the young girl who had restored a car no one else could fix. and they were curious to see her skill firsthand. Mia welcomed each visitor with a calm and friendly smile, ready to listen and help. Her father, Mr. Harris, noticed how much attention Mia was getting. He felt proud but also a little concerned about the sudden recognition. He wanted her to stay focused and patient, not overwhelmed by fame. "Remember, Mia," he said gently one morning, "your skill is valuable, but it is your patience and careful work that make it special. Don't rush because people are watching." Mia nodded, understanding that her father was right. She had learned that success came from focus and care, not from pressure or hurry. Mia continued to spend hours studying each car that came into the garage. Some were older than the Rolls-Royce, with engines that had not run for decades. Others were newer but had unusual problems that even experienced mechanics could not solve. Mia approached each challenge with the same careful attention she had shown with the Rolls-Royce. She observed, tested, and adjusted, always patient and precise. News of Mia's skill began to reach further towns. People from far away wanted her help, and some even offered opportunities for her to work with larger automotive companies or attend special schools for mechanics. Mia was excited by the possibilities but also thoughtful. She wanted to learn and grow, but she did not want to leave her father or her town behind. She decided to continue working in the garage while learning new techniques in her free time. One day, a visitor brought an old sports car from another city. The car had not moved for years, and several mechanics had tried and failed to repair it. Mia examined it carefully using the same method she had applied to the Rolls-Royce. She studied the engine, checked each wire, and tested the levers with gentle movements. The other mechanics present watched in silence, remembering how she had restored the Rolls-Royce. After several hours of careful work, Mia discovered a small adjustment that had been overlooked. She made the change slowly, ensuring every connection was secure. When she turned the key, the engine roared to life. Everyone in the garage cheered. Mia smiled calmly, knowing that patience and observation had worked again. The young girl had solved another problem that experts had failed to fix. Mia's reputation grew, but she remained humble. She never claimed to be better than the experienced mechanics. Instead, she emphasized careful observation, patience, and a willingness to learn. "Every machine has a story," she often said. "If you listen carefully and respect it, it will tell you what it needs." People admired her not only for her skill but also for her attitude and dedication. As her work continued, Mia began to teach others in the town. Young boys and girls visited the garage, curious about how she had restored the Rolls-Royce and other cars. Mia showed them how to observe engines carefully, how to test parts gently, and how to be patient and persistent. She encouraged them to think for themselves, to pay attention to details, and to enjoy the process of learning. Mia also learned from every car she repaired. Each engine was different, each problem unique. She experimented carefully, discovering new techniques and solutions. Her confidence grew, but so did her understanding of responsibility. She knew that each car represented someone's memories and trust, and she treated every vehicle with respect. Through her dedication, Mia became a symbol of talent, patience, and determination in the town. People came not only for car repairs but also for advice and inspiration. Mia showed that skill alone was not enough. Success required observation, patience, and respect for the work. Her story encouraged many young people to believe in their abilities, no matter their age or experience. Even as her reputation grew, Mia remained close to her father. She valued his guidance, his knowledge, and the support he gave her. Together, they worked in the garage, learning from each other and solving new challenges. The 1950 Rolls-Royce remained their proudest achievement, a symbol of perseverance, skill, and the extraordinary potential of a determined young girl. Mia understood that this was only the beginning of her journey. There were countless machines to learn from, challenges to face, and opportunities to grow. She looked forward to each new problem, ready to apply patience, observation, and careful work. The young mechanic had proven that age was not a barrier to success, and her story inspired the town to believe in talent, curiosity, and determination. Mia's fame had begun to spread beyond her small town. One sunny morning, a well-dressed man arrived at the garage. He introduced himself as Mr. Collins, a collector of rare and classic cars from a nearby city. He had heard of Mia's success with the 1950 Rolls-Royce and wanted her help with an old car he had owned for many years. The car was older than the Rolls-Royce and no mechanic had been able to repair it. Mia listened carefully as Mr. Collins described the car and its history. She studied every word, trying to understand what challenges might be waiting for her. Her father, Mr. Harris, watched silently, feeling both pride and concern. "Are you sure you want to take this challenge, Mia?" he asked. "It is a very difficult car and the experts could not fix it." Mia smiled confidently. "I want to try, Father. I will take my time and learn from the car. That is the only way to succeed," she replied. She knew this was an opportunity to learn and test her skill further. But she also understood that patience and careful observation were more important than speed or force. The next day, Mia began working on Mr. Collins's car. It was dusty and covered in rust in some areas, but its design was elegant and beautiful. Mia carefully opened the engine panel and began to study the parts. She noted which wires were connected, which levers were stiff, and which parts had been replaced or repaired in the past. Every detail mattered. Hours passed as Mia examined the car with focused attention. She moved each part gently, testing its movement, and cleaned the connections carefully. She made small adjustments based on what she observed. She remembered how she had restored the Rolls-Royce. Careful observation, patience, and respect for the machine. She knew that rushing or forcing the engine would not help. Her father occasionally checked on her progress. "You are very patient, Mia," he said. "This is what makes you different. Remember, every machine has its own story and you need to understand it before it will respond." Mia nodded. She knew that the car required her full attention and respect, just like the Rolls-Royce. After several days of careful study and small adjustments, Mia discovered a part that had been overlooked by the previous mechanics. It was a tiny lever hidden behind the engine, delicate and precise. Mia examined it carefully, noting how it connected to other parts. She realized that this lever might be the key to starting the car. Mia adjusted the lever slowly and gently, making sure every connection was secure. She stepped back and turned the key in the ignition. For a moment, nothing happened. Mia did not panic. She knew that patience and repeated careful attempts could succeed. She adjusted the lever slightly, listened to the engine, and tried again. A small vibration ran through the car. Mia smiled quietly, knowing that she was close. She continued her work, adjusting and testing carefully. The engine responded gradually, first with small hums and then with stronger vibrations. Mia's excitement grew, but she remained calm. She understood that the final step required precision and care. She adjusted the lever one last time and turned the key with steady hands. The engine roared to life, strong and smooth. The sound echoed through the garage, filling the space with excitement and energy. Mr. Collins clapped his hands, amazed. "I cannot believe it. No mechanic could fix this car, and yet you have brought it back to life," he exclaimed. Mia smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. She knew that her careful work and patience had made the impossible possible. The news of Mia's success with Mr. Collins's car spread quickly. People from other towns and even cities began to contact her, bringing old and rare cars for repairs. Mia had become known not just as a talented young mechanic, but as someone who could solve problems that experts could not. Her reputation continued to grow, and people admired her skill, patience, and humility. Despite the attention and recognition, Mia remained grounded. She continued to work in her father's garage, learning from each car and improving her skills. She also shared her knowledge with other young people, teaching them the value of observation, patience, and careful work. Mia had learned that true skill was not only about fixing machines, but also about understanding them and respecting the process. Mia's work with Mr. Collins' car marked a new chapter in her life. She realized that her talent could take her far, but she also understood the importance of patience, practice, and humility. The young mechanic had proven that determination, careful observation, and respect for machines could overcome even the most difficult challenges. Her journey was just beginning, and she looked forward to learning more and helping more people through her extraordinary skill. After her success with Mr. Collins's car, Mia's reputation had grown even further. People from faraway towns and cities now sought her help. She had become known as the young mechanic who could restore cars that no one else could fix. Despite the attention, Mia remained humble. She continued to work in her father's garage, learning from every machine and respecting each vehicle as if it had a story to tell. One bright morning, a collector from another city arrived at the garage. He had heard of Mia's extraordinary skills and brought a vintage car that had not moved for decades. The collector explained its history with pride and concern. Many mechanics had tried and failed to repair it. Mia listened carefully, asking questions about the car and observing its parts from a distance. She could see immediately that it was delicate work, requiring patience and understanding. Her father, Mr. Harris, watched quietly, feeling proud and amazed. "Mia, are you sure you want to take this challenge?" he asked. "This car has been abandoned for years and many people could not fix it." Mia smiled calmly. "I want to try, Father. Each car is different and I want to understand it." "That is the only way it will work," she replied. Mia began by examining every detail of the car. She studied the wires, levers, and pipes, noting how each part connected. She cleaned the engine carefully, testing each movement and adjustment. She remembered everything she had learned from the Rolls-Royce and Mr. Collins' car. Every step required patience and attention to detail. She knew that rushing would ruin the work. Hours passed as Mia worked methodically. She made small adjustments to the engine, observing how it responded. Each time she noticed a change, she recorded it carefully and adjusted another part. Her father occasionally looked over her shoulder, impressed by her focus and dedication. The collectors and visitors who had come to see the car watched silently, amazed by the young girl's calm and careful work. Finally, Mia discovered a small lever hidden beneath the engine cover. It was old and delicate, worn from years of use and clearly overlooked by previous mechanics. Mia studied its movement, understanding how it connected to other parts. She realized that this lever was the key to starting the engine. Carefully, she adjusted it step by step, making sure every connection was secure. Mia turned the ignition key slowly. The engine gave a small vibration, then a hum, and gradually came to life. The sound filled the garage, strong and steady, echoing excitement through the room. The collector smiled broadly, amazed by Mia's success. "I have never seen anyone do this." "You are extraordinary," he said. Mia smiled, feeling proud but calm. She knew that careful work, patience, and observation had made it possible. Word of Mia's success spread quickly, and soon she was invited to demonstrate her skills at workshops and automotive events. People wanted to learn from her, to understand how she solved problems that others could not. Mia shared her knowledge with humility, teaching young people and adults alike that observing carefully and working patiently was more important than rushing or forcing a solution. Despite her growing fame, Mia remained grounded. She continued working in her father's garage, treating each car with respect and care. She knew that her skill was valuable, but the true reward was in learning, understanding, and helping others. Her journey had taught her the importance of patience, observation, and determination, and she wanted to inspire others to approach challenges in the same way. The town became proud of Mia, the young mechanic who had restored the 1950 Rolls-Royce and many other cars. People admired her not only for her skill but also for her humility, patience, and dedication. Mia had shown that age was not a barrier to talent, and that even the most difficult problems could be solved with careful work and persistence. Years later, Mia looked back at her journey with pride. She remembered the first day she touched the Rolls-Royce, the days of observation and study, and the moment the engine finally roared to life. She realized that every challenge she had faced had taught her something valuable. Each car had a story, and she had learned to listen and understand. Mia continued to teach others, restore cars, and solve problems that no one else could. The 1950 Rolls-Royce remained in her father's garage, a symbol of perseverance, skill, and the extraordinary talent of a young girl who had listened, learned, and succeeded. Mia had proven that determination, patience, and careful observation could turn failure into success, inspiring her town and many beyond to believe in the power of skill, curiosity, and persistence. The Rolls-Royce, once silent for decades, now stood proudly, its engine humming gently in the sunlight. Mia smiled, knowing that her journey had only just begun, and that there were countless more stories, challenges, and machines waiting for someone who would listen, learn, and care as she had.